Hi everyone. So I'm gonna be doing something a little bit different uh, this week, just because of something that God is having me do, and just reflecting on that over the past week. I felt like I needed to just do a quick um, lesson on it. So no notes, um, just sharing from my heart, and I'm gonna be reading some quotes from the book Fervent by Priscilla Shire. Um, yeah, so y'all pray with me because y'all know, like I said, or I think I've mentioned before, I'm not diagnosed, but I do suspect I have ADHD, so it might be hard for me to like stay on point. But I'm just praying that the Lord will help me to focus today. Okay, so um, first things first. So last week, some of you may know, I decided to just go ahead and I think around that Tuesdays when I really decided like I need to take a mental break. Like I need to just stop everything and just take a break from my mental health. Excuse me. And at first, it was nice, but suddenly it's like I started becoming irritated because there was this constant need to do something, right? Irritated by the thought of just sitting down and just resting like the Lord was telling me to, was making me angry and anxious and, you know, having a moment where basically, God is addressing that fear in me, like, what are you afraid of? And I just remember telling him that Tuesday, right? And at that point, I had been on break for like an hour, maybe 2 hours. And I just remember telling him, like, if I stop doing everything, then I go back to before when I had nothing. And I remember there was a point of time where it literally felt like I had nothing, right? I had just graduated or I finished, I had my bachelor's from the Prairie View A&M University. Hello. Y'all know I'm a shout out my school. Um, but yeah, I had my bachelor's and it was just like I'm applying, but I'm not getting any jobs, or it feels like I'm struggling because it seems like everybody else is doing better than me. And my I have no worth because I'm not doing anything or anything sequential. Even when I was doing stuff, for the church or whatever, it still felt like it wasn't enough. And that fear just rose up again. It's like, no, because if I stop studying languages and if I stop doing stuff for the church and I stop doing these things, then I won't have anything anymore. and and I feel like, I mean, that same day God, reassured me, like, if you have me, you have everything, right? You have nothing to lose, because literally he reminded me of when, Paul in the word said that I count this as dung, right? He counted all the stuff on earth as trash, as nothing, because for Christ, everything, like in comparison to Christ, nothing compares to that, right? Nothing compares to God. And so, essentially, all this week, every podcast, scriptures that I go to study is like dealing with those things. So, first thing I'm gonna do is read from this book, which, by the way, it's from. It's I think this book, Reverent by Priscilla Shire, is written more for women, but I still feel like there's certain aspects, at least when it comes to this kind of stuff, that applies, right? So, um, first thing, or these are my highlights from the ebook. Okay, so you've already received approval from the only one whose approval really matters. The activities he gives you to steward are so you can participate with him in staking a kingdom claim on the patches of ground where you live. So if that doesn't square with how you're feeling very often at the end of the day, you're being bullied by a liar, talking about Satan. You're being motivated by fear and insecurity. You're being intimidated by your enemy's cruel application of pressure against you. And you don't need to put up with it any longer. And then she goes on to kind of talk about the importance of rest, which again, the podcast, one of the podcasts that I had lined up, because I'll pray on that too. Like I have so many now that I follow. That I'm just like, okay, God, what should I listen to today? And the episode that I listened to today talked about how God literally set aside a whole time for his people to rest because it's that important to God. So the podcast I listened to last night talked about how, especially in Western culture, we place all our value in, what we have, right? It's not enough to be doing something or the value that it brings, to your life, right? Like, what do you feel or how you feel when you're doing this thing? But how much money are you making from that? Well, you're not even making that much, so why do you do it? That's not even worth, my time, you know. Um, and it's sad. It's sad, and we, now even this morning, meditating on Ecclesiastes, um, chapter 1, verses 2 and 3 about vanity to vanity. So the preacher, all is vanity, and I'm paraphrasing, but talking about how you work so hard for all these things, but where is it leading you? Like, So just a personal reminder for me this week, God's constantly been telling me you need to rest, right? And then, like she said, if you feel that pressure to do more, I have to do more, I have to be more, I have to add on more, I gotta have this list of things to make myself feel important. And it's like, are you doing what God has called you to do? Because if you are, that's all that matters. I don't know why it is every time I go to do these, a train is coming. So sorry. Oh goodness. But yeah, um, finding security in God, right? There's nothing wrong, by the way. There's nothing wrong with, being a hard worker. I mean, God doesn't want you to be a bum, okay? But, idleness and all of that, no, that's not of God. However, when we become so tangled up in what we do that our identity is found in what we do, that's a problem because your identity should be in Christ. My identity is not in the fact that I study 3 languages. My identity is not in doing these women Bible study lessons or the Bible study lessons for the body, um, being an author and a poet. That's not my identity. My identity is in Christ. So in this time of rest, um, with Him, and realizing, okay, it's like, I don't want you to just sit there. I want you to engage me. Like, this is also a form of worship to the Lord, to really reflect and take time to just bask in his presence, right? Reading those scriptures and meditating on what he said and praying over the, over the week, like really taking that time to just enjoy that time with him. And I'm praying that, once I finish up with my week of rest, I'm kind of slowly getting back into things, at least with the church. But when I get back to doing, everything that, I was doing, I'm focusing on those things that are important, right? That God specifically needs me to do, and not just trying to find my purpose in busyness, right? As long as I'm busy, I have worth, because if I'm not busy, then I'm not important, and therefore I have no value. And that's just not true. So we're closing on 10 minutes. Y'all know I try to keep it short. So Thank you for listening today, and I pray that you will get rest and stop listening to that lie that you have to, you know, be everything for everyone in order to have some kind of value, or that if you're not overworked, then you're not, you don't have any real value. That's not true. God does not want you mentally, physically tired, spiritually drained. Like, that's not where He wants you to be. So, y'all take care. God bless. And I don't know, tune in next time. Bye.